This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
This podcast is part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, a program designed to help all podcasts reach their full potential. For information about joining the Robots Radio Rocket Club, check out robotsradio.net.
Welcome to Holocron History, Star Wars Canon versus Legend. Join us as we take a deep dive into the lore of the Star Wars universe.
Hello, and welcome to Holocron Histories, where we talk about Star Wars lore, canon versus legends. What does canon say? What does legend say about everything? We're here to sort out the differences and guide you through that. I am Austin, also known as Teacup. I forgot that, if you don't know who I am, welcome to the show. If you don't know who I am and you've been listening to the show, how?
Yeah, how? And I'm your other host, Ben of Tamaria. And if you don't know my name from the multitude of shows on the network, same as Austin, what are you doing? What are you doing?
But if you're listening for the first time, awesome. Welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
Yes, we are glad that you're here. And for today, we are going over another company in the Star Wars universe, and that's Kuat Drive Yards. So, we are going over a starship manufacturer. And so, normally we start with legends. Today, we actually are going to start with canon because there's actually less canon information of Kuat Drive Yards than there is on Legends material. So, we're going to go right into it with the canon. So, Kuat Drive Yards, or KDY, was a starship manufacturer based on the planet Kuat. The main production facility of the Kuat Drive Yards was the Kuat Drive Yards Orbital Shipyard, a ring around the planet of Kuat. So, it's a giant ring. Think of a giant halo ring surrounding a planet. And it's a shipyard. That's what I'm thinking.
Is this where... This isn't where we go... No, that's a different planet. Where we go in Force Unleashed and we pull down the Star Destroyer.
That is not Kuat. That is... Is that Rakata?
Raxus.
Raxus. Is that Raxus Prime?
No.
I think
so.
I think that was the second time you go to Raxus too.
Yes.
So
that's correct.
It produced many of the galaxy's most terrifying symbols in the Imperial Might, including the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, and also produced walkers such as the All-Terrain Defense Pod and later the All-Terrain Armored Transport. It had several subsidiaries with Kuat vehicles focusing on civilian ground products and Kuat Systems Engineering producing starfighters. So, yeah, they do a lot. Just like the other two companies we went over. They do quite a bit. So, getting a little bit more into the history of the company. So, one of the more foremost military shipbuilding corporations in the galaxy, the Kuat Drive Yards, purchased the world of Rothana in 800 BBY, setting the stage for the creation of Kuat subsidiary, Ruthana Heavy Engineering. Kuwait firmly aligned with the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic for a decade before the onslaught of the Clone Wars, before the leading Kuwaiti executives were assassinated, leaving a group of ambitious Nimronians to take over the Trade Federation at the infamous Erduro Conference. Yeah. If I don't think that was planned, I don't know what was.
Who knows?
And Numordians are the species that Newt Gunray is a part of. So, and to take over the Trade Federation, obviously. So, yeah, I don't know if that was planned or not. Probably. So, with the aid of its subsidiary, Ruthana Heavy Engineering, KDY produced most, if not all, of the Republic military starships and vehicles throughout the Clone Wars. Notable starships including the Accelerator class transgalactic military assault ship, the LAAT gunships, and the formidable baseline AT-TE Walker and the Venator class Star Destroyer were all produced by KDY, making it the most influential companies in the galaxy. So essentially everything you see the clones driving, KDY made it. Pretty much.
Yeah, so there's really and we see this when we get into the Imperial era, there's several corporations that are backing the clone and war effort of the Republic that then transition to have great places of power in the Empire.
Oh, yeah.
The Banking Clan is another one that I think of. I forget what that planet is called. And then, but the Trade Federation, these other places, they get pretty much wiped out by that, and it leaves Kuwait and the Banking Clan and the droid manufacturers are. Everyone needs droids. They just kind of leave them alone.
Right. Empire needs droids. The Republic needed droids. Civilian needs droids. They're safe. They don't have to worry about anything, thankfully.
Look, what's her name in SWTOR not Zakul. It is called Zakul. On Zakul, destroy the droids and the people will fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Especially a society specifically designed around droids compared to Zakul, if you play SWTOR in the Legends, their society is very intertwined with the droids that they manufacture. Compared to the rest of the galaxy outside of Zakul, outside of the unknown regions and everything, droids are there, but they're not super initiated into the society itself. Yes, droids are useful in a lot of things, but they're not powering everything, such as Zakul. All the droids are powering the planet itself, essentially. Or it's the working force. So it was only natural for KDY to shift its allegiance following the proclamation of the New Order, the Republic's transformation into the autocracy of the Galactic Empire. As a result of the importance in the Republic military production, it quickly became the premier starship and vehicle manufacturer for the Imperial Navy and the Imperial Army, respectively, reaping huge profits as a result. Makes sense. The collusion of the industrial and military power led to the district dagger-shaped vessels utilized by the Imperial Armed Forces, with the company producing the most prominent symbols of the Imperial might. The Imperial-class Star Destroyer and the AT-AT Walker were products of KDY's massive military infrastructure. The Admiralty pushed for Admiralty? Yeah. The Admiralty pushed for KDY's larger vessels, much the charging of the Imperial Starfighter Corps. In the months following the Battle of Endor, the New Republic Defense Fleet led the Admiral Galen Akbar and Commander Krista Alaget siege to Kuwait in the orbital Kuwait Drive Yards shipyards. After sustaining heavy casualties, the Imperial Governor Moff Paulus Maxim in the Guild Head of the Kuwait Drive Yards capitulated to the New Republic. The loss of the Kuwait Drive Yards led Grand Admiral Ray Sloan to open peace negotiations with the New Republic. In reality, the peace talks were a ruse for the Fleet Admiral Gaius Rex to attack the New Republic leadership on Tredelia and overthrow Sloan. And some of that, I believe, I can't remember if that was part of Battlefront 2 story or if that was from the books or comics. Can't remember on the top of my head. It's one of those. But that's literally all we have in canon for Kuwait Drive Systems or Kuwait Drive Yards. Sorry. That's it. Very, very seldom. Not a lot of info, surprisingly. So, getting into legends. So, again, Kuwait Drive Yards, KDY, or Kuwait Engineering, was the largest military shipbuilding corporation in the galaxy at the time of the Galactic Civil War. It is based in the planet of Kuwait. The Kuwait Drive Yards mainly sold its products to the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Republic previously. Many Kuwait products could be found in TIE fighters, armored fighting vehicles such as AT-STs and AT-ATs, Star Destroyers, and other military vehicles. Kuwait Drive Yards did not sell only the Imperials, however. Many planetary governments purchased weapons for the purpose of defending their planet from the war. The circumstances helped to make Kuwait Drive Yards one of the most famous corporations in the galaxy. So they didn't just... in Legends, specifically, they didn't just profit from just the Empire and the Republic. They profit from everything. Because it's a corporation. So,
I guess, what's that scene from The Last Jedi where he's like, he sells for the First Order and the Resistance.
Right, yeah. He sells to both sides.
Because they needed to tell us corporations don't actually care about the people. Because we needed to be told that.
Yeah, sadly.
By a corporation.
True. Interesting. So we go with the founding early history of Kuwait Drive Yards. So Kuwait Drive Yards was founded in the early days of the Galactic Republic by a group of human aircrafts from the 10, or as the 10. These merchants, led by the Kuwait family, joined together with the intent to create the largest, most efficient shipyard in the galaxy. They hired terraformers to change the planet Kuwait in the core worlds into a paradise world, while engineers designed and built the first 6 mini-orbital shipyard complexes. The project faced opposition from fledgling trade consortium as well as the internal dissent from the merchant families. Despite their use of sabotage, espionage, and hired pirate groups and trade groups, failed to stop the Kuwait families, who settled their internal differences by signing the inheritance exception, which gave the Kuwait family perpetual control over the Kuwait Drive Yards. After these early difficulties, the shipyard grew rapidly in both the size and prestige, and by 5000 BBY, it was known as the first-class galactic shipbuilder. In the millennia that followed, the shipyards became noted for building warships that served the Republic Navy throughout both the Old Sith Wars and the New Sith Wars. KDY was not a top-tier shipyard, however. That title was held by the triumvirate made up of the core galaxy system, Corellia Star Drive, and the Horst Kessel Drive Incorporated. Kuwait set its sights on becoming a member of the group and engaged in a various competition with the core galaxy systems. Between price wars, industrial espionage, and more underhanded tactics, Core Galaxy suffered several losses and was forced to sell its assets. In 500 BBY, KDY bought the company and retired the core Galaxy Systems name. With this purchase, Kuwait took its place as the top shipbuilder in the Old Republic. It was soon joined by the Karelian Engineering Corporation, or CEC, CEC, which had bought out Karelia Star Drive, and the older company lost its entire senior design team in a shuttle accident.
So, this all sounds very familiar,
right,
to several corporations who will remain nameless on this podcast, I guess, just so we don't get certain. One of them makes Star Wars. The other is really fond of drones and boxes.
Right, yeah. Yep, okay, I see where we're at. We're on the same page.
Okay, good. All right, so, but this begs a question about the general Star Wars world, and I'm going to bring in a little of our world. So in our American, United States history, we had a period in our history, especially around what we call the Gilded Age and the Industrial Revolution, of these companies having huge monopolies on our economic system. And this is really around like the turn of the 1800s to the 1900s. And we passed anti-monopoly and antitrust laws because it was hurting the economy to do so. But we get no evidence of this kind of legislation in the Star Wars universe. And I would imagine that it is even worse on a galactic scale versus a country scale.
Yeah, I would say it's that. I would agree with that. In Star Wars, in the galaxy of Star Wars, no one, like, what are rules? I mean, that's about it.
Right.
As long as something, as long as someone makes the stuff, who cares? And that's pretty much what it comes down to.
And it does come in about like the galaxy's a big place, and what the like rebellion and the empire is actually just a very small portion of the center and the mid rim of the galaxy. Like there's the whole outer rim and unknown regions, and there's another one that is, because there's the unknown regions and then there's a different unexplored place as well, but I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head.
And now we've added into the fact that there's intergalactic travel in Star Wars. But that's canon. We're talking Legends. So obviously, like the Republic cannot legislate outside of the bounds of the Republic. Like that's why there's slavery on Tatooine. That's why there's all of these things going on, because the Republic, the Empire, the New Republic, all of these entities, the Old Republic, can only reach as far as the worlds who are a part of them.
Right.
But again, I find it weird that there's not like an overarching governmental check on, like, if Kuwait resides in the Republic, they have a senator, so they should fall under whatever business regulations exist, which I seriously doubt there are no business regulations.
Yeah, I mean, there probably are, but probably not even close to the business regulations that we have in our world, in our modern society. Like trust and monopoly laws, because that's a big no-no.
Or even OSHA. Like,
yeah,
is there? We OSHA. Obviously know there's no OSHA in Star Wars, because I have yet to see a freaking hand railing anywhere.
No, there is not a OSHA whatsoever in Star Wars, because we wouldn't hit the terrible work life of a normal citizen. Oh God! I mean, look at what Cal Kestis did in canon. Cal Kestis working on a shipyard. Look what he had to do.
Was like,
and if he wasn't a Jedi, he would have been screwed.
He was part of a union too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's terrible. But with that, we are going to take a quick mid-break, and we will be right back.
All right. Well, welcome to the middle of the show where we talk about stuff going on with the podcast. We take time to thank our patrons. I'm sure y'all had a great patron chat last week.
Yep, me and Kodojo ranted about
Yeah.
Star Wars news and went off topic multiple times.
Will there be a KOTOR remake? Who knows? But
supposedly, yes. It's still in development. Saber just went private.
Maybe. Yeah, and maybe I mean technically Star Wars, whatever the Quantum Dream, Quantum Leap,
Eclipse.
Whatever it is. Eclipse is still in development.
As far as we know, that one escapes.
Rian Johnson technically still has a trilogy in development that hasn't been officially canceled.
I think they did I think they recently officially canceled it. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But anyway, as I said, Star Wars news, just we're along for the ride.
Pretty much. Yep. Yeah, we are.
But thank you, Kodojo, for your support. And thank you to all our patrons who support us. If you'd like to support us, you can do so at or patreon.com/holocronhistories. And you can do that and find that there. Yeah, it's a great way to support us. You can also leave us ratings and review on Apple or Spotify. Do we have one to read today?
Nope, not today, sadly.
So yeah, leave us those comments, leave us those ratings. If you too are wondering about the economic systems of Star Wars and the lack of mention that we have on them, please ask, because unlike everyone who saw the prequel trilogy and complained about talking about intergalactic trade law, I, as a 32-year-old adult, want to know about intergalactic trade law.
Right? The older we got growing up with this stuff, the more we wonder, is like, how is this legitimate? How does this work? Because that shouldn't be working.
Right, exactly. These are the questions. I had a philosophy teacher who, whenever people would ask a question, he would just go, these are the questions. But these are the questions. But anyway, yeah, leave us those comments, ask those questions. Another great place to ask us questions is join our live stream. We live stream this it's Monday now, but we typically,
as what we're doing right now, it's a one-off.
Yes. Yeah, but we typically stream on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/Ben of Temeria. So come check us out. You can ask us questions right there, or make me not feel like I'm crazy for wondering about the economic laws of Star Wars.
He really needs help.
Second, you can ask those questions in our Discord. You can hop in there in the Cups Podcasting More or the Ben and Friends Podcasting Discord server and ask us questions there and hang out with us there. It's a great place to hang out and do that. I think that is all for the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything? I don't think
you didn't. And I don't have anything else either. Go check us out live, because if you notice, if you watch us live prior and if you watch us live now, you might know I'm in a different environment. I'm in a sound booth that I made at home. So cool stuff, because I'm working on voiceover stuff. So that's always fun. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's it for the mid-break. I don't have anything else to add. But with that, let's get back into more KDY.
Ben.
Yes.
I just have to say, we probably should stop saying KDY because it's too close to another thing that is used for intimate actions.
Fair. That's fair. I didn't think of that. Like at
There we
all.
go. Just wanted
Darn
to
you, Star Wars.
I mean, this is the man who named his music what he did. So,
Right. Yeah. All right. So next we have the expansion and investment. So Kuwait Drive Yards quickly earned earned a words are getting me today.
We'll breathe and
Breathe.
just
Whew.
and start over.
Quickly earned a reputation as a predatory company. I wonder why. Besides Core Galaxy, Kuwait rapidly bought up a number of other small shipbuilders and built factories as a number of worlds outside the Kuwait sector. Beldoron, Rothian, and Exfel were among many worlds to contribute to the Kuwait Drive Yard construction effort, either directly or through subsidiary corporations such as Rothana Heavy Engineering and Urbikian Industries. Kuwait Drive Yards also had a tendency to create subsidiaries to focus on specific markets. So we have the Kuwait Leisure, focused on civilian vessels. Kuwait Vehicles built air speeders, land speeders, and speeder bikes. Kuwait System Engineering was responsible for starfighter design and light patrol crafts. And Kimpat Engineered Defenses owned jointly with CEC, designed and built starship shield generators and sensor arrays. So, yeah, they like to buy up other companies to put into their company to be one big company. What does that sound like?
It sounds like a company that is the parent company of a company that I'm very frustrated with right now.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes.
Again, these are all, you all know who we're talking about. This company just likes to buy things. And the company that I'm frustrated with just recently changed something about one of their long-standing games that broke mods, and then they have yet to release mod support for their apparently baby and biggest title ever.
Right. Yeah, I'm still waiting for
and
that.
now I'm with their help department, which is terrible.
Yeah, it is. But Kuwait Drive Yards was also a significant member in several commercial and trade groups and had 2 members of the Trade Federation Dictatorate. The company was also part of the Techno Union and but at some point prior to the Clone Wars decided to cut their ties. Kuwait Drive Yards was also a founding member of the Corporate Sector Authority. Interesting. In exchange for the investment of 50 quadrillion credits, half in direct gifts of credits and equipment, and other half in the purchase of CSA stock and bonds, Kuwait Drive Yard received a position as a signatory sponsor, allowing it to complete access to advertise and sell its products in the corporate sector, as well as extremely discounted prices for bulk goods and raw materials, which were necessary for the large-scale construction Kuwait Drive Yards often undertook. 50 quadrillion credits. Just quadrillion alone is insane.
Quadrillion.
That's
1 trillion.
That's 4.
How many zeros? What? Yeah.
That's a lot of zeros. We have, million, billion, trillion, and then quadrillion, which is above that.
Hold on. We're going to get it. 15 zeros.
Holy crap. Too much money. Too much money. So in the centuries
It's only...
Go on.
It is 6 more zeros than a billion.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it adds 3 zeros every time it goes up.
Which I guess makes sense because trillion. So
yeah.
Quadrillion is...
That's insane, though. Oh, gosh. So in the centuries prior to the Clone Wars, Kuat Drive Yards entered into a pronounced rivalry with the Rendili Star Drive, challenging Rendili's dominance in the supply of small cruisers to planetary security forces by constructing a number of even larger warship designs. These included several massive star destroyers, battle cruisers, and star dreadnoughts, which came into service as part of the Kuwait Sector Defense Fleet. Kuat Drive Yard's first battle cruiser, the 2,500-meter Procurator class, was launched in 200 BBY and became the template for a series of even larger and more powerful battleship designs aimed to attracting contracts from wealthy core planets, sectors, and powerful mercantile interests. The Procurator class was refined several times before the supplement of the 4,000-meter Praetor class battlecruiser. Kuat Drive Yard's first Star Dreadnought design, the 8-kilometer Mandator class, was launched 20 years before the Clone Wars and triggered a slew of orders by wealthy sectors for similar battleships. Rendili Star Drive was...
I know what this looks like.
Oh, the starship? Or the battle cruiser?
Yeah, I want to know what it looks. I want to know what it looks like.
There
are no pictures.
I know, I just looked. The Rendili Star Drive was skeptical of the utility of such large ships, which fell well outside the warship restrictions of the Rusan reformations, and consequently could be equipped only with short-range local hyperdrives. Nonetheless, Kuat Drive Yards advertising won the ear of the senators from wealthy core world sectors, who soon began buying star destroyers, battlecruisers, and star dreadnoughts for the defense fleets. Some of Kuat Drive Yards' experimentation with large designs came about due to their membership in the Techno Union. After the split, Kuat Drive Yard decided to create new starships only for the Galactic Republic.
Okay, so this is important because this is the Rusan reformations and like this restriction that they're putting on Kuat Drive Yards to do like with the Star Drive is the reason why the Republic does not have a military or an army when the Clone Wars start. And They have to commission Camino to make their army.
Right.
Because at the Rusan reformations, they pass legislation that basically gets rid of the standing army of the Republic.
Yeah.
And they have to like repurpose all these Hammerhead class cruisers, which is why we only see a couple of them by the time that gets in there.
And this was the Rusan Reformation, if anybody knows, even in canon, because this is both canon and Legends material, it gets signed well before even the High Republic. So this is well after the Old Republic, because where the Old Republic, the Galactic had an army. They had a military, because they were constantly fighting with the
1,000 BBY is
1,000
when it
BBY.
is signed, I believe.
And High Republic essentially is between the 5 to 300 BBY, and then going up towards 32 BBY, which is Phantom Menace.
So, and this is why I think that a revisit of the KOTOR era would be really interesting, because it's really like what Revan does and then the subsequent Cold War that happens. Like, this sets off basically 3,000 years of war between the Republic and the Jedi and the Sith Empire.
Right.
And the Russo reformations are really the end of that. Like, there's brief times of peace in between that, but
because there's technically peace, quote unquote, during the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
But they were still a lot of fighting in the Cold War. And then after the Cold War, you get the Galactic, what do they call it during the SWTOR era?
Like the start of the campaign of the character stories.
I can't remember what the campaign's called. Because it's
after not the new
War.
Sith Wars, because the new Sith Wars are a different one. I gotta look it up.
Okay. While you're looking that up, I'm going into the next thing. So the Clone Wars through the Battle of Yavin is where we get through their history. So prior to the invasion of Naboo, Kuat Drive Yards of advertising had won over many core worlds. Senators, 7 of its Star Dreadnoughts were in service. 3 defended Kuwait itself, while the Azure, Ixtalar, Alaska, and the Humbrian sectors had brought 1 each. Meanwhile, a dozen of its battlecruisers defended core and colony sectors. It was expected that Kuat Drive Yard would support the Trade Federation in opposition to the Galactic Senate's proposed retaxation of the trade routes in the Outer Rim. However, relations between the two entities soured considerably when Newt Gunray orchestrated the assassination of the rest of the Trade Federation dictatorate, including the 2 Kuwaiti delegates at the disastrous Idaru Trade Summit. So the assassinations were planned. With Kuat Drive Yard and the Trade Federation driven apart shortly afterwards, Kuat Drive Yard's subsidiary Ruthana Heavy Engineering was subcontracted by the cloners of Camino and built a full range of assault starships and combat vehicles for a secret clone army. Shortly before the Clone Wars, Kuat Drive Yards also developed modifications on behalf of the Jedi Order to the Delta 7 Interceptor design in the research shipyards above Gwendon. Yeah. Did you find it?
Yes. So this is a fun little history lesson. So the war that takes place when that starts in the SWTOR cinematic trailers where they attack the Republic station over Korriban, and that kind of kicks off. That's called the Great Galactic War.
Great Galactic War. Okay. I couldn't remember.
Yes. And then that lasts 28 years before the Treaty of Coruscant is signed, and that marks the start of the Cold War. The beginning of SWTOR is when the Treaty of Coruscant is dissolved, and that starts the it's just called the Galactic War.
Galactic War. Okay. I couldn't remember on the top of my head, but yeah, there you go. SWTOR is great, by the way. Watch the cinematic trailers. The cinematic trailers are phenomenal and tie into the game, even though you won't see them in those designs ever. And they also tie in the books. Well, two of the books. Some of the books are nothing to do with, it's well after, because it deals with Satil's son and all that. Anyway,
right.
Despite its earlier Republic commitment, at the beginning of the conflict, Kuwait was secretly contracted by the Separatists to build a fleet of heavy armed combat vessels that visually resembled bulk freighters. Some senators later claimed that the Storm Fleet contract was an act of treason, but Chancellor Palpatine called it a simple incident of mistaken corporate connections, and Kuat Drive Yard escaped punishment. Yeah, because they had the guy who's running both sides tell him, "Oh, it's okay."
Right. But we see this the Trade Federation never secedes from the Republic.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So the Clone Army and the REH built vessels soon saw their first action at the Battle of Geonosis, a skirmish which kicked off the Clone Wars with a number of major shipyards under the control of the Techno Union and other members of the CIS. Kuwait was suddenly besieged with orders for capital ships. Within days of the Battle of Geonosis, an order for an additional 1,000 accumulator transports was sent. More orders followed for a wide variety of warships, support vehicles, and ground armor, everything from medical ships to heavy assault walkers. Yeah, because, they're going to war for the first time in, forever. Major wars.
Mm-hmm.
Kuwait also engaged in espionage against Neomordia, leading to increased arms race between the two industrial complexes. Kuwait took measures to protect their facilities by increasing the numbers of security personnel, upgrading their sector forces, scattering massive minefields around the respective sectors, and cutting off the section of the Hydilan Way to traffic. The Republic also placed placed warships along the outer border of the Kuwait system. At this point, Kuwait's importance of the Republic was great that even Trade Federation officials remarked on the need to silence Kuwait. Before the eventual campaign against the Khorasan itself, news involving the company was published on digital billboards on Khorasan during the conflict. Despite being the single largest and most powerful shipyard in the galaxy, the scale of the Clone Wars is beyond even Kuat Drive Yards' ability. In order to keep up with the demand for the vessels and match separatist shipyards, Kuat Drive Yard joined forces with another loyal companies such as CEC and Rodeli Star Drive. CEC focused on small troop transports, corvettes, and gunships, while Rodeli and Kuat Drive Yard form the Victor Initiative project and share development to experience the heavy multi-role warships. Two key figures would emerge during the program: Warlex Blesick and his daughter Alira Blesick. Warlex was assigned to the head of the Rodeli effort and resulted in the Victory 1 class Star Destroyer. The Victory class was rushed into full production 6 months early when a Techno-Union fleet broke the blockade of Forest. The Victory fleet managed to defeat the Bulwark fleet and Annex and won significant support for the concept of heavy capital warships. The Kuat Drive team, led by Alira, produced two designs. The first, the Venator-class Star Destroyer, and designed by the multi-role warship and the escort larger battleships. The Venator was larger than the Victory and carried a far larger fighter complement. The second design, the Imperator-class Star Destroyer, was produced in far fewer numbers during the wars, but gained increased production once the conflict was over. The Tector-class Star Destroyer was also in the production line, but had a similar service record to the Imperator, only heating a few Republic task forces. Meanwhile, the Venator suffered from an inauspicious start. Several of the first ships were involved in a Senate scandal, which resulted in the loss of Duro. Despite this, the Venator proved itself to be led the Republic to issue orders from many thousands of ships. Over 1,000 ships alone could take part in the Battle of Coruscant. Venators and the other Kuat Drive Yard warships produced during the war were promoted as the cause of most Republic victories by the company. And by the war's end, even heavier designs like the Venator II class Star Dreadnought helped fill out the Republic's Navy roster. The company also producing the military Cardin-class space station, as well as the design, was not fielded until after the war. The Clone War-designed Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was also handed over from Rodeli Star Drive and made into a warship that enforced the fringes of the Galactic Society after the end of the war. At the Empire's founding, security was increased and the orbital facility and space stations were militarized and augmented to assure continued production of the warships. Kuwait was issued of its own MOF to oversee the sector. In addition, because of Palpatine's desire to expand Imperial rule throughout the civilized galaxy, Kuwait kept producing multiple warships and ground vehicles in spite of the Clone Wars being over. Go figure. Because of their support for Emperor Palpatine, Kuat Drive Yard received a majority of the contracts for building the Imperial Navy. In order to focus on capital ships, Kuwait Systems Engineering folded back into the main Kuat Drive Yard line, and several of the starfighter designs were sold to Signar Fleet Systems. For several decades, Kuat Drive Yard maintained a rich catalog of destroyers, cruisers, battle cruisers, and battleships for the Empire. Yeah, they had a lot. The pinnacle of the Kuat Drive Yard line was about another Lyra Wessex contribution, about 3 BBY. Kuat Drive Yard drew up plans for the Titanic warship, one even more powerful than Venator IIs of the Clone Wars. The new Star Dreadnought design was vehemently opposed by a number of Imperial admirals, but Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine took a personal interest in the program. So that's literally the Super Star Destroyer, because it's so freaking massive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's essentially only, there's one or two, I think, right? of the Super Star Destroyers. Emperor Palpatine had one. I think it's just Palpatine.
Yeah. No, Vader's technically Piet is the admiral of that ship. But Executor is what it's called.
Executor, yeah. So as the Death Star project aimed near completion, the Imperial Navy changed its mind to most admirals began to support the concept of terror styling, and the new design represented. It also hoped that the new ship could provide the Navy their own superweapon to compete with the Death Star. 4 ships were ordered, though the first ship, Executor, began construction at Fondor rather than Kuwait. There were several possible reasons for the move, including the need for secrecy, Darth Vader's plan to use the construction of the Executor to draw off the treasonous officers and rebellious spies, a simple demonstration of superiority by Palpatine over Kuat Drive Yard, which had attempted to remain independent of the Empire, or retaliation for Kuat Drive Yard's refusal to participate in any part of the Death Star project. Irritated, Kuat Drive Yard began construction of the second ship of the class at the same time, also naming it Executor. Meanwhile, the company continued to take contracts from other parties, including an order for custom exploration ships for Alderaan for prior to its destruction. Bum bum.
Okay. These are my questions that I have.
Okay.
The Death Star has a hyperdrive, right?
Mate, I don't know. I need to look at the specs. I don't know on the top of my head.
Well, we never see it jump to hyperspace. It just appears.
Well, true. I don't know.
But like Jeddah and Tatooine are not necessarily close to each other.
No.
Neither are, and like Scarif and Tatooine can't be that close to each other.
Right.
So these are my questions.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to look at that. I mean, the
And
Scarif was
Alderaan
destroyed
and
by
Yavin are not close to each other.
True. Because Alderaan is in the mid-rim. Yavin's in the outer rim.
Or is Alderaan in the core? Is it a core world?
It might be a core world. I don't know. I have to look at the galaxy map. But several more special projects were begun as well, notably the Eclipse, a super laser-armed star dreadnought. Despite these new projects, Kuat Drive Yard was still able to produce Imperial-class ships at a high rate, allowing the Imperial Navy to reach a strength of at least 25,000 of these ships. That's a lot of ships.
Yeah. The Death Star has 123 hyperdrives.
Holy crap. How many was it again? You said over 1,000 hyperdrives?
No, 123.
Oh, 123. Okay, 123 hyperdrives. It's still a lot. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then we now go into the Galactic Civil War. So the schedule for the 4 Executor-class Stardust Dreadnoughts were radically altered as the result of the destruction of the Death Star by the Rebel Alliance at Yavin. The Executor at Fondor was finished only 6 months later, with the second ship renamed Lucinica, completed shortly after. Lucinica was promptly buried under the surface of Coruscant at the behest of Yasin Aserd. The other 2 ships were given to admirals personally chosen by Palpatine. The Executor devastating a number of Lekin Depot rebel outposts. The Empire ordered to increase in production of these massive ships. Fondor continued to serve as an alternative constructive site, but Kuat Drive Yard built a majority of the ships at its own facilities, often rushing them out of the dock mostly completed and sending them into smaller facilities for finishing work. This allowed the higher rate of production and otherwise possible, as there were a limited number of slipways capable of holding a ship of the size of the Executor class. Besides Star Destroyers, Star Cruisers, Battle Cruisers, and Star Dreadnoughts, Kuwait continued to receive huge orders for smaller capital vessels for the Empire. The Imperial Navy was augmenting its forces. The Kuwait was the prime provider for the capital ships. New designs were created during the time of the counter the actions for the rebels, such as the EF-76 Newbland B escort frigate and the VT-49 Disseminator and the Star Galleon, all designed as a reaction to the rebel convoy raids. The company was known to cut losses by building individual modules for use of multiple ship designs. The command power of the Acclamator class was an element commonly used by the smaller warship designs, and the iconic T-shaped towers used for the Imperial and Executive classes were also highly modular and still used on many warship classes during the company's career. When Alderaan was destroyed by the Empire, Kuwait recouped their losses by reusing systems meant for Alderaanian perimeter scout ships and orbital custom stations in their new battlecruiser production lines. And that is all we have in the Galactic Civil War. There is more that goes on afterwards, but we would be here forever, and I wasn't going to get into anything after the Galactic Civil War because there's not a whole lot.
They do Kuwait plays a big role, and their senator continues to have major power in the Legends material.
Right.
Her name is Senator Treen, and it's a big deal.
Yeah. And then we do have one thing behind the scenes. So the actual location, the Kuat Drive Yards facilities, differ depending on the sources. Coruscant and the Core Worlds, Empire at War, and Essential Atlas shows the yards being an orbitable ring around the planet Kuwait, while Platt's Starport Guide and the Essential Guide to Planets and Moons claim that the shipyard are in a massive ring around Kuwait system itself. Nothing precludes the existence of both rings, however.
It means both could be true.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Kuat Drive Yards.
Yeah. What we're taking from this episode, thanks for the lead shirt. These are my takeaways. I need more about galactic economic law. I need to know, we know the Death Star has an exhaust port, but is that little small 2mm hole enough exhaust for the massive amount of engines and hyperdrives it has to have?
2mm?
I don't think so.
You mean 2 meter?
I said 2 meter.
You said 2mm.
Did I say millimeter?
You said
I meant
millimeter.
2 meter.
It's like
2 meter. I mean, yeah, 2 meter is like 6 feet, give or take a little bit.
Yeah.
But still, that's not very large.
No, not at all.
And my other question is, or my other takeaway is that corporations are
suck.
Corporations, and they suck.
Yeah,
I work for a big corporation.
I've worked for multiple corporations in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not all fun. Some are, some aren't. It depends on the one you work for.
And in the Clone Wars, Palpatine gets control of all the corporations, except he leads the droids alone, because don't mess with the droids. He must have learned from Vitiate and Zakul.
Yeah. Or, R2. Because R2 always wrecked his plans.
It's true. It's true.
Right?
No, I like to, speaking of that, before we go, I like to imagine that there was some point where Vader was getting a report of the whole situation. So it's yeah, there was this blue astromech and blue and white astromech R2 unit and a gold protocol droid. And then Vader's well, we never stood a chance.
Darn it. Yeah, I just imagine Vader's inner monologue, and it's they're at it again. I should have wiped R2's memory.
Do you think Vader knows that he shot R2 during the Battle of the Death Star, the Battle of Yavin?
Oh, he did. Probably not. I would imagine he didn't. But who knows? he might have like just not care about R2 at that point.
This man almost torched the entire Republic War effort for this droid.
That's a fair point. That is a very fair point. No, he probably did like, after the fact. It's like, oh no, I shot my own droid.
Vader's fate was sealed then when R2 realized that, oh, you did this to me? Okay, it's over on
right?
site.
Yeah. Crap. But yeah, that's what we have today.
Well, it is late and we are out of time. So thank you all for listening to the Holocron Histories Lorecast. It's not Lorecast, Holocron Histories podcast. We'll see you next time.
And may the Force be with you. Thank you for listening to Holocron Histories, Star Wars Canon vs. Legends. You can find us on the Robots Radio Discord at robotsradio.net, the Ben and Friends Podcasting Discord, and even at the Cups Podcast and More Discord. You can find us on Twitter at SWHoloHistories, and even email us at holocronhistories@gmail.com.